I'm here with Cryptocito on the Cryptocasting couch at the Hyatt. Hey man,
Hi, bro.
how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
How you feeling? Day 3.
I think day 3 is always like, everyone has their routine. Like the speakers kind of know where to be, where to go. The MC. So I think day 3 is always like the most chill day out of the 3, even though it's obviously still a lot that's going on. But I'm very proud.
I don't know, and I never raised day 3. I only had 2-day conferences, so I don't know what that feeling like for everything to be fine.
I mean, like day 3 is always like the day where you're like, is anyone showing up to this? Like day 1 is always like the first day you can be quite confident that a lot of people show up, but day 3 is like, are people actually staying? Like, is the program interesting enough, right? I think so far it's been good. Like everyone is networking, talking, listening to the talk. So
yeah, no, the venue this year is really good. I mean, you've had like great venues, I think, for the 4 years, and venue's good. Food's been really good, I gotta say.
Thank you.
It's like pretty phenomenal.
Yeah,
and also there's a good group of people here. I mean, considering we've been talking about this throughout the week, but there's I think there is a sense in Cosmos that this is the bottom.
yeah.
And
Can it get any worse?
Yeah, I saw that T-shirt yesterday.
How much worse can it get?
Yeah,
Sure.
and I think the people here are really the true believers, the OGs, the people who like really drank the Kool-Aid. And I had a panel yesterday where, out of context, this might sound a little bit weird, but basically Cosmos is the ISIS of crypto.
I haven't seen that panel. I don't know what you're talking about.
We never give up. It's like through thick and thin, and we go in and we conquer, and the people we conquer, they stay forever, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and there's still a lot of them, right? Like it's not like, okay, there's like 50 people.
Yeah,
like, we actually have like over 1,000 people like actually check in, right?
Yeah.
Like way over 1,000, like cumulatively over the days, obviously, and like we have different breakout rooms. It dilutes a lot, but I think every room was packed. The exhibition area was packed. The feedback I'm getting from projects and exhibitors and sponsors is amazing, which is another thing. Like 1, you want to make sure a lot of people are there. 2, you want to make sure sponsors are happy, right?
Yeah.
Those are the 2 main things for running a conference.
Yeah.
And then 3, obviously, no major fuck ups on like anything can always happen. But yeah, I think like I say, like Cosmos, when I got into Cosmos, which I think was much later than you got in, like for me it was like early 2022, late 2020 or something like that. But I think I always had this feeling like it's a very serious builders-driven ecosystem. And I think this year at Cosmos, because we don't have like, the Atom 2.0 hype up leading to the conference, which everyone was really excited about. It was a big flop. We had always, attempted to kind of make Cosmos also a platform where these big announcements can be communicated.
Yeah.
But I think this year we just let it go, like just go with the flow.
Let the Giga brains come.
I wanted to make sure also like, let's not call any presentation like special announcement or something. Like I scratched it from the agenda. And I think the fact that like this year, no one is really like pushing or forcing it almost to like make something big.
Yeah.
Actually is the real value, because now you have, a lot of productive, even firesides on stage, right? Yesterday we had a panel that was scheduled for 25 minutes, ended up talking for 48 minutes. So like there's just a lot of like actual productive conversations on stage even. And I think this is the true value, right? On the workshops and the developer stage, and like getting everyone together from all over the world, right? Which is another thing, right? Like the logistics behind all this, 50 plus nations, I think, are here right now. And getting them to see each other for just 1 week, I think this is like the most valuable thing.
Yeah, I think there was some Dubai FUD before the conference. People were like, why isn't Dubai and everything? But actually it works out quite well because it's really sort of central between East and West, and there are a lot of people in Cosmos, sort of in India.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Southeast Asia. And this is kind of the perfect spot for all the Europeans and Americans to come, and also, the people.
One of the reasons why I moved here, a year and a half ago. But I think we always have fun. I mean, Lisbon obviously was like super last minute. We pulled this off within a month. It was the first time after COVID.
Yeah.
Medellin, huge fun. Oh my God, bro! Like
we're gonna get
robbed. like the whole narrative about narcos and all this stuff, right?
Turkey.
Plus, but wait, we also had elections in Colombia, and I remember even like locals, right? And it's very political, but they said if Petro wins the elections, we're not gonna do Cosmoverse. And like, imagine always having this in your mind, like if he's gonna win. And the elections were in like August or even like a month or two before the event, right? And he won. He's still the president now, but nothing happened. Then we had Turkey also elections,
and also
plus the earthquake in Turkey, like a few months before that.
Yeah, plus
and
the whole like kind of Middle East stuff that was happening at the time. Like the beginnings of
even now, right? Like I received messages like 2 weeks ago from someone like I got a notification from my airline like that there might be delays or cancellations of my flight because obviously Iran is like just across the sea from Dubai, so it's like but this is also like the state of the world right now. I think a lot of geopolitical uncertainties all over the world, right? Even in Europe. I mean, I think there was also a lot of FUD in Europe. So doing conferences is really, really hard. If anybody thinks about doing an event, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a financial nightmare. You're taking on huge risk, a lot of unknowns. Remember the floods we had in April?
Yeah.
This was the day of Cosmos Dubai. We had a huge event lined up with all these guys. We had to cancel it because of floods in the middle of the desert. Like wild stuff. So don't touch events. Don't do it.
So I mean, like, why are you doing this? Why are you teaching?
I don't know.
Cosmoverse?
I mean, I've been doing events like 3 years before I got into Cosmos movement, right? Like I love events because that's how I got into crypto. Like I was an exchange student in China in 2018, and that's where I really got into crypto, and it helped me. So I started doing events for others, and it was just like we had zero funding. It was all like just for fun, like getting people together, so much value to like learn from each other, connect, and all these kind of things. So I did this for 2 years in China and in Asia. And actually, I did a conference in Colombia and Argentina in 2019 as well. And then COVID hit, and then Cosmoverse was kind of the first event after this year of COVID. Whereas like I've done events before, I know how much value it is. But obviously now 3 years later, like Cosmoverse turned into this giant organization, right? It's like multiple things involved, like on the financial side of things, organization, even internally, right? Like how do we structure this organization, this company? What's the legal kind of frame around this?
Yeah.
There's so much now that's like, it became this huge thing where like, okay, I kind of need to figure out how to continue doing this under these circumstances that we are now, right? Because we are not anymore just like, oh, let's get a few Cosmos guys together and like we can maybe go back to this, I don't know, but I think Cosmos deserves something like this. It urgently needs it. You saw probably the pictures of Breakpoint and how they just took over Singapore with 5,000 people and this huge event, which was probably an 8-figure event or at least a high 7-figure event to put together for 2 days. We have a full week here, so there's a lot of cost involved, a lot of resources, not just financial resources, but also like HR and like strategic planning. So yeah, and like it definitely evolved over the years, but I think it's definitely something Cosmos needs as like almost like a public good in the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I think Cosmoverse feels very much like a public good, and I was talking to people this week who are sort of echoed that sentiment. Events are. I think anybody who does events will resonate with them. Like events are hard to do, and I was just at Salt Lake at Permissionless, and we did a podcast with Jason from Blockworks, and his vision on events is that like you're either, like an event is a single-sided marketplace where you just like bring people in and they're all in it for networking.
Yeah,
and you bootstrap that marketplace by getting speakers on stage.
Yeah,
which is sort of like an obvious thing, right? But to sort of articulate that way, then also that events sort of fall into 2 categories according to him. One are the sort of really big events, right? The Token 2049s, the Web3 summits, etc. And those are the ones that make money. But also those are the ones that dilute the quality of the content so much and of the networking, just because there's so many people. And then you have this other category of events that are super niche.
Yeah,
and allow kind of 2 sides of the marketplace, like the service providers, the takers and the service providers and those who want to meet them. So like an event like DAS, for example, where you have institutions and you have like people who want to meet institutions.
Yeah.
Then you have all this category in the middle. And those are the ones that are hardest. And I think that like events like Cosmoverse sort of fall in that. And Nebula Summit too, right? We fall into kind of this middle where it's, you know, you don't want to become, I think, like a token 2049, right? I mean, like,
where do you
go from here?
I mean, the way I think about Cosmoverse is like also in the kind of Cosmos terminology, right? I consider Cosmoverse to be like an app-specific conference, and they're general purpose conferences, right? So Token is a general purpose conference. I think it's much needed, right? 10,000 people, huge, like hundreds of side events. Everyone goes to party. You don't really come for a token, right? You come for
the experience.
The idea, exactly, the experience, right? You get a nice trip to Singapore or Dubai, actually twice a year, because they're doing it twice now, which is insane to like pull together. But they have like almost a monopoly in this. And I think conferences, like you're saying, right? You have this 2-3 conferences that are probably making insane profits, and that's fair enough, right? Like I think they're probably took on a huge risk in the early days. They have done this for many, many years, so well-deserved, amazing job. But I think Cosmoverse is a much more productive conference, right? We have a lot more developers. Leading up to this, you talked about it earlier, right? India is super close. Dubai is not known for being a developer hotspot. So I'm like, okay, how do we source developers for Hackmos? Because there are no huge developer communities here in Dubai, right? So we have to go to India, right? India is a 2-hour flight away for pretty much all the, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai is 2 hours away. It's $100, 150 round trip, right?
Yeah.
Easy. So we did this whole campaign in India, like getting people to get excited about what we're doing, and Cosmos.
You're also doing hackathons and like smaller meetups and stuff. And
so the way like Cosmos is basically 4 events in 1 week, right? We have our speakers and sponsors dinner, which is the first opening.
Yeah.
Then we have 3 days of the main conference, Cosmos. And then we have the after party, which is always something that, I think is a nice way to kind of end it.
Yeah.
And then those that are staying for our hackathon, Hackmos, right? This is like purely for developers. So yeah, for Hackmos specifically, you have to think about it like its own event, basically, right? Entirely own event.
Yeah.
So for that, we went to India with a bunch of events there, sourcing developers with 0 funding. Like we had 0 funding. We had some sponsors, but 0 funding as in like, okay, you need a treasury actually, because if there's something that goes wrong, let's say a flood, let's say something, right? And we had this, like it's not just, worst case, this is actually what happened. Who's going to bail us out? Like, who do I call? Like the ICF? Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't call them first, and I hope they bail us out, but that's the kind of risk here. And you do events, you're in the same position, right? So, yeah, that's kind of, we're like a sovereign organization running a app-specific conference. But I mean, we do have a lot of strong support from like, Babylon, Mantra. The ICF is one of the major sponsors this year, actually the largest sponsor for Cosmoverse.
That's great.
The Cosmos Hub also, right? Osmosis, those are our 5 headline sponsors. But I also want to realign Celestia. I want to realign Berachain, Saga, Fetch AI, right? All these teams and projects need to fully rally behind Cosmoverse. Otherwise, it's like just half of the Cosmos, right? And I think a lot of people that came here also, they might have come with the impression like, oh, Atom is Cosmos, but it's actually just an idea of like sovereignty and interoperability, right? And once you see all these projects, you're like, this is amazing. And like the feedback we got was great. So people enjoy it. And yeah, it's a very diverse audience that we want to attract.
I want to come back to this idea of like branding, because this is a topic that been kind of going around the ecosystem for a while now, and I think is like it's a tough nut to crack. Even for us as a fund, I've noticed how people how the narratives that narrative sort of impacts investors, how they perceive the fund. Like when you say you're a Cosmos fund, like some get excited about it, but some are like, and you realize that actually those are the people who think that Cosmos is the hub. And there's I think there's a lot of teams also, like Celestia, Babylon, maybe like Say, Injective, that use Cosmos tech, but don't really align with the brand. Even though they're using the tech and they're benefiting from the tech. And I think like that's great. So like, what do you think is the the main issue here that people have identifying with Cosmos branding, and how do we get over that, basically?
We had a lot of drama, obviously, and I think also this is probably just a natural side effect of like true open governance, which is probably the end game for decentralization, but it also always gets super political. We obviously also have these like old histories, which I'm not even like fully aware of. I don't even care about it, to be honest. Like between individuals or individual organizations, right? Like you did this, you did that. Obviously, we have this kind of background, and I think it's important to understand also the origin story, the founder story, and all this stuff, just to be aware. But I think the second thing is also like this new idea of app chains, the internet of blockchains, which kind of only Cosmos truly like has built, right? I think there was a time when Polkadot and Cosmos were at the same, like on the same line, but then Polkadot built out a shared security environment around DOT, which was great for the DOT price and everything. And Cosmos basically sacrificed Atom for building out IBC and getting IBC adopted left and right? So I think the Cosmos approach is probably the more sustainable one, and we're seeing it with more and more teams choosing the Cosmos or the interchain stack. So I think that's another thing that will just naturally, like, the market will adjust. Or, the question is also like, does it even have to like be, okay, I'm bullish on Cosmos now? Or is it just like, okay, you can be bullish on Fetch, you can be bullish on Barachain, on Nillion, on Babylon. You don't have to be bullish on Cosmos, but all these chains are Cosmos chains. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Or do we say, okay, we scratch the term Cosmos from our minds, no more Cosmos. We just talk about interchain, which is a more neutral. And if you think about interchain, it's just like a neutral term where you don't immediately associate a coin or chain to it. Because I think a lot of people still associate Atom to the term Cosmos, right? And I think that's one of the things what we're doing this year with the introduction of tracks, where we're not making it about Cosmos anymore, but we make it about Bitcoin, AI, gaming and NFTs, enterprise, like different tracks, right? So it's about the actual vertical and not about a Cosmos chill fest, right? So that's one of the ideas, but yeah, it needs to be like continuously put out there, and yeah, we'll see if that has any major impacts. But yeah, I don't know.
I agree. I've been saying this for years, like that I think we need to that Cosmos has a branding problem, and we need to like clearly differentiate what is the hub and what represents kind of the technology stack, and maybe the chains that are building on that technology stack. But in the long run, I like this analogy of the Linux ecosystem, and we all use Linux. Every time you use a Mac or an iPhone or an Android, you're using like a version of Linux that was highly optimized and built for UX, but nobody cares, right? And like it doesn't matter. But like all the fighting that went around in like the 1990s with all these nerds fighting about like which distro was best ended up producing this really great foundations for building operating systems. I think like Cosmos kind of resembles that in my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about? Like, what have you seen this week that really excites you?
Right now, I'm most excited about sleeping for a week. But honestly, like you said in the intro, like there's a lot of quality people. The feedback I'm also getting from like local UAE-based people that have been to a lot of conferences and events here in Dubai is like this is one of the highest standards.
I bet.
And I think this is and the thing is like, I think this is also what Dubai needs as a location, right? Because Dubai, still has, like you said earlier, also like people still have kind of their, thoughts or prejudice, I think is the word, about like how Dubai is. And like, there are some things that are true in terms of like, the quality of events here. There's a lot of like projects or events that you never even heard about, but they attract like 2,000 people. Like, who are these people? Like, I don't know. And I think Cosmoverse, those people, many of them being for the first time in Dubai, like they're actually true builders and like true OGs in the space, right? Like yourself. I mean, and you have a lot of them, right? Hundreds of them, maybe like 1,000 of them almost. So I think it's also great for Dubai to see like, oh, okay, like Cosmos actually has a lot of like quality people and teams and builders. So this is like, I think always the thing that I'm like, I want to make sure that we have a quality attendance.
Yeah.
Because that's only about, I think also this is what Jason or Jason from Blockworks was saying. Like I read, he did a whole recap on mainnet, right? Was permissionless, sorry. I always mix these up. But yeah, he made a whole recap about it. And like, I think a lot of the things also resonate a lot with how I see it. And one of the things also like, sure, like on pictures and videos, it looks amazing if you have 5,000 people, right? And we want that, right? Cosmos needs it. We all need influx of retail, all these kind of things. But having a smaller crowd, but high standard, high quality is actually much better. You actually want that over, let's just fill it up just for the sake of having nice pictures.
Yeah.
You actually want the opposite, which is like probably less people, but focus more on quality people. So, and the feedback we're getting. So this is what I'm mostly excited about, that like Cosmos is still this ecosystem that's like highly respected. Mert was there yesterday from the Solana ecosystem, right?
That was great.
And he had a good time. I don't think he would show up to like just any conference, right? I think this also like represents kind of the Cosmos, the kind of value that Cosmos has or the standing it has in all crypto.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for doing the hard work.
Yeah, thanks for the support over the years. You've been there since the beginning. I mean, you've been there since Lisbon, right?
I have been at every Cosmoverse since.
Yeah, you're 4 of 4.
Yeah, 4 from 4.
Next year we might just do a big Zoom call.
What? A big Zoom?
A big Zoom call.
That's it. All right, man. Thank you.
All right, bro. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
It's great.